This is The Update with Sean Yoes.
Happy New Year, I'm Sean Yoes, and welcome to the first episode of The Update. Up close this week, police brutality and the death of Tyrone West. In Baltimore, the consensus of many is 2013 was a bad year between the Baltimore City Police Department and the black community. In January of 2013, Baltimore State's Attorney Greg L. Bernstein announced the 3 detectives involved in the arrest and death of Anthony Anderson, an unarmed black man who suffered 8 broken ribs, a ruptured spleen, and a bruised lung during an arrest, would not be charged with a crime and were not guilty of excessive force, despite the fact Anderson's death was ruled a homicide by the medical examiner. On July 1st, 2013, Abdul Salam was arrested and allegedly beaten by police in the driveway of his Northeast Baltimore home in front of his 3-year-old son. 17 days later, on July 18, 2013, also in Northeast Baltimore, Tyrone West was arrested during a so-called routine traffic stop and beaten by at least 9 police officers. And he died while in police custody that evening. Witnesses said he was maced, tased, kicked, and beaten with fists and batons. According to lawyers for Salam and the West family, the first 2 officers on the scene of Salam's arrest and beating on July 1st, Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz and Nicholas David Chapman, were the first 2 officers on the scene during the arrest, beating, and ultimately the death of Tyrone West on July 18th. The question for Baltimore City Police is, if Ruiz and Chapman had been sufficiently disciplined after the Salam incident, would Tyrone West be alive today? On December 19th, 155 days after West's death, State's Attorney Greg Bernstein announced, as he did in the death of Anthony Anderson almost a year earlier, none of the officers connected to the death of Tyrone West would face charges. His detractors argue West somehow got what he deserved because of previous run-ins with the law. His family believes nobody deserves to die while in custody of police, and they continue their fight for justice for their family member. I spoke with the West family this week.
Tyrone was gifted. And that's all we talked about. He wanted to help his family strive. He wanted to help us. And through his artwork, he wanted to do something good for this family. And we saw this in his drawings, in his paintings.
Well, we basically picked up, ordered some chicken boxes and some water. And we were there eating, and he was on the way to drop me off home, and he was going to do me a favor. And so he got a call from a young lady that's an acquaintance, and she needed a ride. And he asked me, could he go and get her? I said, I don't mind at all.
Whew. That was probably one of the worst nights of my life.
And then all of a sudden, the news come on, and I see my car on the news, because I'm like, you know, my boyfriend's getting my attention. He's like, you need to see this. And I'm like, see what? I'm like, I'm watching news. I'm trying to. He was like, no, you need to see this. He was like, they killed your brother. And I said, who killed my brother?
Wanda was screaming that Tyrone's dead. Now, it's just something that I really can't explain it without going back there. And I'm trying not to go back there because that pain was so devastating. Like a hole in my heart that won't close.
The next day they meet us, and the first thing they do is show up at the house, you know, and ask us, did my brother have any health issues? And we're like, what in the world are you talking about? Like, he just was brutally murdered. Like, we heard witnesses on the news stating how they beat him worse than Rodney King, how he was tased, beat, stomped, drug out his car by his dreadlocks.
It's not a human being, a man alive, that could have lived through that type of beating. And Tyrone was healthy. They're saying he had a cardiac arrest, cardiac arrhythmia. You being maced, tased, beat, kicked, and stomped. How much can the heart take?
We've been on a search all these months running down the mayor, running down everybody just for answers. Nobody family should have to run people down when your loved one is murdered. You got to deal with burying your loved one. You got to deal with questions of why did this even happen? What happened? And nobody's answering your questions. And they're running away from you. They're telling you take a number like this was just like an animal. We probably would have got a better response if an animal would have got murdered.
And I will never rest, never, until those officers are brought to justice so Tyrone can rest, because he's not rest.
Did you hear what they said? They said another brother's dead. They said he's dead, but he can't be buried.